Hi, and welcome to the Be Fluent IELTS YouTube channel. I'm your teacher, Masha.
And I'm your teacher, Stu.
So today we're going to give you a sample answer for part one of the speaking section. Don't forget that this section is kind of like small talk, getting to know someone.
Yeah, so these are not very in-depth topics usually.
Yeah, and so for today's topic, we're going to talk about games, which is kind of a fun topic.
Yeah. Do you usually like playing games?
Um, Yeah, I do. I'm not very competitive, so I don't really understand the point of the games, although I should. Um, I do like board games. Um, there's a board game that I play called Catan, where you have to like, get as many roads or houses as possible.
I think it's a very not controversial, maybe a divisive game amongst board game fans. I'm not a fan.
It is. It's. I mean, I don't go crazy, but some people go really crazy.
Oh yeah, I've learned it has quite a following.
It does.
Um, so yeah, so are you ready to get started?
Yes.
All right.
Um, Should I ask
I'll
you, or you're going to ask me?
I'll ask you first.
Okay.
So let's talk about games. Uh, what games are popular in your country?
I think it depends on the age. I think for children, when they're really little, I think any kind of like card games or board games are popular. I think as people get older, I think they play video games. And then recently, I think adults have started to play board games again.
Do you play any games?
Um, Not recently. I mean, I should. It would probably help me relax. But uh, sometimes I play board games with my daughter. Sometimes I play like card games when I visit family.
How do people learn to play games in your country?
Well, I think when they're young, they tend to learn from their parents or from their siblings. And then once they go to school, they learn from their teachers. And I think especially these days, people are learning through YouTube. I think YouTube has been a really useful way for people to kind of learn how to do anything, especially games.
Do you think it's important for people to play games?
I do. I think that when we play games, we relax, right? Because generally games are supposed to be fun. But at the same time, I think games can teach us a lot about each other and kind of whether we're competitive or like when you play a game sometimes your crazy side comes out or you can really learn a lot about someone when you play a game with them.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So do you want to ask me now?
I do. All right. um, what games are popular in your country?
I think there's a lot of different games that people play. I think these days probably video games or computer games would be the number one overall for different age groups. I think people who are my age basically grew up with video games, and so anyone who is under 40, I would say it would probably be a big part of their lives.
Hmm.
Um, Older people probably don't play as many. Um, Maybe I would say there are some card games that are popular with older people.
Do you play any games?
Uh, some occasionally, I'd say, not that much. I used to play video games up until I was a college student, and since then, I don't really play that many games. Occasionally, I get together with friends and we play board games, but I would say it's not an everyday thing for me.
How do people learn to play games in your country?
Uh, I think a lot of times we learn from friends and family. People will be introduced to a new game from someone, and they learn how to play it from them. I think also, depending on the game, you can possibly just kind of pick it up and learn it, by yourself. I think obviously board games you need a group of people, but if it's video games, usually anyone can just pick it up and learn how to play it just from doing it. You don't even necessarily need someone to teach you.
Um, do you think it's important for people to play games?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very normal part of relaxing and enjoying your free time. And then also I think it's also a really social thing as well. I think a lot of young people have friendships online that they know from playing games with each other, and so they've never met in person. And so I do think it is important to um, spend time playing games.
Uh, Thanks for your answers.
Thank you. So how did you feel about this topic?
It's. I don't think it's a difficult topic. I think maybe kind of coming up with the examples, or I think one thing that I think students struggle with was what is a game? I think some
Mhm.
people only
Sure.
think that it's a video game or only think
Right.
that, so I think just expanding your mind to what a game
Hmm.
is, right?
Sure. It could even be a sport, I think.
Yeah.
Think about it's a game is something that is fun that has a winner and loser, and so you could include many different things in that. How did you feel about your answers to this? Do you think you did well?
I think I did okay. I tried to give details
Mhm.
when needed, and I tried to um, like not to talk too much, but try to
Mhm.
kind of answer the question. How about you?
Yeah, I feel overall I think I did fairly well. I do think one of the questions was a little difficult about how people learn to play games.
Mm,
That's not really something that I think about very often. And so, for thinking about like, my experience is easy and about, which games are popular, I think I can talk a lot about. But about how people learn to play games is, yeah, it's not really an everyday part of that topic.
yeah, I think. Do you think it's important to play games? I think might be difficult to answer because it's like, yes, I do, or so coming
Right.
up with an answer on the spot might
Mhm.
take a little effort, I think, from at
Sure.
least the student's perspective.
Oh yeah, and I think too, it's also best to not overthink these. That you're not being tested on if you give the correct. They're not going to be angry that you said it's not important to play games, and so really, it's about giving a detail and supporting your answer. And if you can do that, your exact answer is not important.
Yeah, yeah. It's just being able to talk about something,
Mm,
and coming up with examples that you're comfortable with and that you know.
yeah, and then also too, if you kind of change your mind after you give the answer, just forget about it.
Yeah,
It's not worth losing any sleep over.
yeah.